Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of What's Driving Token Prices. I'm your host, Katie Talati, Director of Research at Arca. For those joining us for the first time, I'm responsible for analyzing and identifying digital asset and blockchain opportunities for Arca's funds. As part of our research, my team and I examine token prices and the market events that act as catalysts for price change. Based on our research and market events over the past week, here's some notable token price moves and what we think drove these moves. As a reminder, this commentary is not intended to be investment advice, investment research, or an investment recommendation. Please consult your investment professional for your own circumstances. Well, guys, it's been another crazy week. Obviously, all the tariff news and the macro news has been what's driving the market up and down, up and down. But as always, we want to talk about some specific tokens, so we will get right to it. So first up, we're going to go talk about Morpho. So Morpho is a decentralized lend borrow platform, and they kind of are competing directly with Aave, mostly because they offer more customizable options. Now, over the weekend, their Morpho Blue product, which is basically the front end for Morpho, saw an exploit. Leading to a loss of $2.6 million. So actually what happened, this was pretty interesting. Basically the hack was a result of an update that the team pushed out late Friday to the front end. The hacker then found this vulnerability in kind of the newly pushed update and was able to steal $2.6 million from an address. However, a white hat MEV operator was essentially able to front run this exploiter and recover the funds. So if you're not familiar with the term white hat, it basically means somebody who is a hacker but they use their powers for good instead of evil. And the MEV stands for minimal maximum extractable value. So MEV, though, is the idea that basically certain people can run like bots and other trading strategies on chain to essentially front run certain transactions. So when people do things like this, they can do this to maybe take advantage of like a trade that they see coming on chain. So maybe they'll, it is essentially market manipulation, but move the price up. Or maybe take offers out of the market kind of in the same block as that transaction is being pushed through. So in this case, it actually has a great effect, which is the hacker tried to steal these funds, and somebody who's running an MEV strategy saw what they were doing, assumed they were stealing the funds, and actually was able to essentially intercept those funds and return them. So cool to see some of this stuff happening for some good. This is actually not the first time, though, that this particular white hat MEV person has intercepted and returned stolen funds. They actually previously did this during two different DeFi exploits, one for Curve in 2023 and another one for a protocol called Blueberry in 2024. The Morpho team, in response to this, they quickly rolled back the update to their front end until the exploit could be patched. With this, though, Morpho token is down 11% for the week. All right, now we're talking about MakerDAO, or also known as Sky. They've kind of got the two tokens going on right now. They, this last week, began allocating $1 billion of idle capital on their balance sheet to tokenized securities. So last fall, the decentralized stablecoin project, which has a bunch of assets on their balance sheet as a result of their business time, held a competition, which they called the Tokenization Grand Prix. The purpose of was for projects to essentially apply to be considered for allocation from MakerDAO. Three projects were ultimately selected: BlackRock's Buildle Fund and Superstate's USTB and Centrifuge's JTRSY, all offering some sort of tokenized treasury product. I believe BlackRock has got about $500 million about 500 million of TVL from this, while the other two are split evenly. Sky, the Maker token is up 8.5% this week. Okay, last we're going to talk about Helium. So last week, the SEC officially dismissed their case against the wireless DeFi project Helium. So the case, which was only brought in January, was brought in January. It was actually brought literally the week before the new administration was sworn in. A lot of people figured that this was kind of like the prior SEC administration's kind of like last shot at the industry, and definitely kind of one that was frustrating for many. But the case was settled with a $200,000 fine to Nova Labs, which is the company behind Helium, and they officially dropped the findings of the case. So the investigation kind of had two prongs. The first is that It alleged that Helium lied to investors, or Nova Labs lied to investors during a fundraise back in 2021 and 2022. And it also alleged that the HNT, IoT, and mobile tokens were securities. So the main crux of the case was really around this lying to raise capital in 2021 and 22. They said that Nova Labs exaggerated the extent of certain partnerships it had in order to make the business more appealing. So although in the settlement, Nova Labs did not admit any wrongdoing, these partnerships have not actually since been mentioned or referenced by the company in quite some time. Since then, though, Helium has really drilled down and chosen to focus mostly on expanding their wireless telecommunications business, especially in Latin America. They've also they're actually boosting or boasting real partnerships these days with telecom companies like Telefonica and Movistar. And today, Helium's mobile wireless business actually sees about 600,000 daily users using their offload network. So these are really great numbers and potential traction to see. Hopefully now that the case has been settled, Helium can kind of move on from this and continue to grow with this behind them. The token is up 33% this week. All right, guys, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed our insights. Tune in here again next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific to hear what's driving token prices.